Mastering the art of designing valid research questionnaires. Are you struggling to create a questionnaire that accurately measures what you want to study? Are you tired of receiving irrelevant or inadequate data from your participants? Don't worry, you've come to the right place. Imagine you're a social scientist interested in studying the impact of social media on mental health. You've recruited participants, and you're excited to gather data and analyze your results. However, when you start analyzing your data, you realize that your questionnaire was poorly designed, and the responses you received were either irrelevant or inadequate. You're left feeling frustrated and unsure of how to move forward. That's where this video comes in. We'll take you through the steps of developing a valid and reliable questionnaire, ensuring that you get the data you need to answer your research questions accurately. So, how do you develop a questionnaire for a research study? First, it's essential to determine the research questions that the questionnaire needs to answer. Then, the researcher can begin to formulate the questions that will elicit the information needed to answer the research questions. Here are some examples of research questions and corresponding questionnaire questions. Example 1. Research question. How does social media use impact college students' mental health? How often do you use social media per day? How much time do you spend on social media per day? Have you ever felt anxious or depressed after using social media? Do you compare yourself to others on social media? Do you feel pressured to present a certain image of yourself on social media? Example 2. Research question. What is the prevalence of burnout among healthcare workers during the COVID-19 pandemic? How many hours per week are you currently working? Have you experienced feelings of exhaustion or fatigue in the past month? Have you experienced feelings of cynicism or detachment in the past month? Have you experienced feelings of reduced professional efficacy in the past month? How has your workload changed since the COVID-19 pandemic began? It is essential that the questionnaire is designed in a clear and concise language that is easily understandable by the participants. The use of technical jargon or ambiguous language should be avoided as it can confuse the participants and lead to incorrect responses. There are some examples of poor research questions. The questionnaire did not ask specific questions about the rare disease being studied, making it difficult to collect relevant data. The questionnaire questions were confusing or ambiguous, leading to inconsistent or unreliable responses from participants. The questionnaire did not offer enough response options or included biased response options, which could have limited the accuracy of the data collected. The questionnaire did not include questions about relevant variables that could have affected the outcome of the study, such as age, gender, or previous treatments received by the participants. The questionnaire was too long or complex, leading to low response rates and missing data. To design the questionnaire, the researcher can use various methods, such as open-ended questions, close-ended questions, or a combination of both. Open-ended questions allow participants to provide a detailed response in their own words and can provide valuable qualitative data. Close-ended questions, on the other hand, provide participants with specific response options to choose from and can provide quantitative data that is easier to analyze. When designing the questionnaire, the researcher should also consider the order of the questions and the flow of the questionnaire. The questions should be organized in a logical sequence, with more general questions at the beginning and more specific questions towards the end. Additionally, the questionnaire should include introductory and closing statements to provide context and to thank participants for their time. Different types of answers can be used in a questionnaire to record participants' responses. Multiple choice questions are commonly used in questionnaires as they are easy to answer and provide a structured format that simplifies data analysis. Rating scales are also used in questionnaires to record participants' responses. These scales allow participants to rate their responses on a scale, such as a 1 to 10 scale or a 1 to 5 scale. Rating scales provide more information than multiple choice questions as they allow participants to express their opinions in more detail. Likert scales are another type of rating scale that is widely used in questionnaires. These scales use a series of statements that participants can respond to by indicating their level of agreement or disagreement. Likert scales provide more detailed information about participants' opinions and attitudes towards a particular subject. They are widely used in social sciences and medical research studies to measure attitudes, beliefs, and opinions on various topics. When using Likert scales, it's essential to ensure that the statements are clear, concise, and avoid any ambiguity. The researcher must also ensure that the scale is balanced, meaning that it has an equal number of positive and negative statements. Validation of the questionnaire is an essential step in the development process to ensure that the questionnaire is measuring what it's supposed to measure. The validation process involves various steps to ensure that the questionnaire is reliable and valid. One of the critical aspects of validation is content validity, which involves subject experts reviewing the questionnaire to ensure that it is measuring what it is supposed to measure. This process ensures that the questionnaire includes questions that are relevant and comprehensive for the study being conducted. Content validity also checks that the questions are clear and easy to understand for the participants. Another critical aspect of validating a questionnaire is internal consistency. This process involves checking that each question in the questionnaire measures the same concept, and the answers given by participants are consistent across similar questions. One way to test for internal consistency is to use Cronbach's alpha coefficient. Cronbach's alpha is a statistical measure that checks for the consistency of responses across different questions. A high Cronbach's alpha indicates that the questions in the questionnaire are measuring the same concept consistently. During the validation process, the researcher can also use pilot testing to further assess the questionnaires' reliability and validity. Pilot testing involves administering the questionnaire to a small sample of participants and analyzing their responses to identify any issues with the questionnaire. Pilot testing can also help identify any issues related to the wording or the structure of the questionnaire. Another benefit of running a pilot study is that it allows the researcher to identify any potential issues with the research design, such as recruitment or sampling issues, before conducting the full study. This can save time and resources by identifying any potential issues early on in the research process. In a multilingual setting, it's important to ensure that the questionnaire is translated into other languages accurately to include participants who may not be fluent in the language used in the original version. However, translating a questionnaire into another language requires careful consideration to ensure that the translated version is equivalent in content and meaning to the original version. When translating a questionnaire, it's important to work with a qualified and experienced translator who has expertise in the subject area being studied. The translator should be a native speaker of the target language and have an understanding of the cultural nuances of the language. The translated version of the questionnaire must undergo a rigorous validation process to ensure that it is equivalent in content and meaning to the original version. This process involves comparing the translated version to the original version to ensure that the questions are phrased accurately and that the meaning of each question is preserved. Any discrepancies or differences between the two versions must be identified and resolved to ensure that the translated version is equivalent in content and meaning to the original version. The validation process can be conducted through back translation, where the translated version is translated back into the original language to ensure that the meaning of the questions is preserved. This process can help identify any errors or discrepancies in the translation and ensure that the translated version is accurate and equivalent in content to the original version. In summary, the development of a valid and reliable questionnaire is essential to ensure that the data collected is relevant and accurate. By following the steps outlined in this lecture, researchers can develop a questionnaire that meets the research objectives and provides valuable insights into the research topic. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe.